Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guests today are Martin Stanley. He's the branch chief of strategic technology at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Robert Hankinson is the director of information technology infrastructure at the State Department. Dr. George Duchek is the chief information officer at the Defense Logistics Agency. Susie Adams is the chief technology officer for sales at Microsoft Federal. And Kevin Brooks is the principal digital strategist for the DoD and U.S. intelligence community at ServiceNow. It's good to have you all with us. And we're talking about security and devices and authentication and all of this in a funny kind of time because we are post-pandemic operating mode now. And within a few weeks, federal agency people will start to come back to work, contractors for that matter, back to the agencies and back to their own offices. And yet everybody says, well, we're going to continue to have this high level of telework. So we're a hybrid, you might say. Everybody's back, everybody's teleworking. And so it's a new challenge in terms of device management, ID management, security management, provisioning management, and all of these things for people. So I'm going to start with the government people and ask you first, what do you see ahead for your agency? What are your plans for making sure that the workforce, as it is ending up working, will be equipped and ready to go? And Mr. Hankinson, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Really, what aren't we working on? There's a ton of things that are happening right now. It's a very exciting time to be in IT and to be in cybersecurity with some bad and some good, right? So there's a lot of things pushing us to the locations where we wanted to be anyway. We've always wanted to increase mobility. We've always wanted to increase security. We've always wanted to do everything that we're doing today. We just had the pandemic to push us along to get us to where we needed to go and to remove some obstacles out of our way. So we're really trying to leverage all the horrible things that have happened with the pandemic and make positive strides out of them. With everybody out of the office, we're able to focus on the infrastructure a lot more. We're able to improve security inside. We're able to do a lot of transitions and changes and move applications to the cloud that we just weren't able to get to before because we were busy dealing with in-person issues or physical issues, things of that nature. What's in front of us, I think we're going to hear this probably time and time again, is zero trust. That's absolutely huge and paramount. That's going to be great. We're going to be able to get in front of a lot of the things that we've been trying to do, improved data, improved security, knowing where our devices are, tagging the identities of our users, and really making coarse and fine-grained decisions of access through those mechanisms. We've been working on it for years, like I said, but we're really looking forward to getting some of these technologies rolled into what we understand as zero trust is and the vision that we've created for ourselves. We look forward to improving automation across 4 different areas. We hope to provide better digital assistance for the users so that we can transition some of their low-level work, the data entries, the repetitive tasks, into higher level tasks that are more appropriate for humans. We're looking at automation for better deployments, quicker deployments, things that take engineers, high-paid engineers, days and weeks to do, using automation to deploy those in the matter of minutes. How we are also going to use automation to sustain the network. Apply patches and updates and fix security gaps using machine learning and things like that. That leads into security, improving the security using automated mechanisms, being able to tap directly into the sources of the security vulnerabilities and the notifications and try to limit the gap between the time that it takes for us to realize that there's something wrong with the network and that we've got to fix it, so that shorter path from flash to bang.
All right, so lots going on there. And I want to move to Dr. Duchek at the DLA because of the mission that you have that really can never stop, with the need to keep DoD supplied with all that it needs to be supplied with. What is the situation? What are you looking for in the next year, especially as new employees come in too? That's another big topic.
Hey, Tom, thanks for your invitation to speak today. Appreciate that. You know, at DLA, we are the nation's combat logistics agency. And so you're correct. There's a lot depending on us. The warfighters and their customers globally depend on us staying up and operating. But I'd have to say that despite this shock that we've had to our IT systems over the past year, we're really not changing a whole lot. I mean, we were a very virtual and hybrid workforce before we went into the COVID lockdown. I got to honestly say, I've been there right around 2 years now, and I can say that before COVID, I was never in a meeting where we had the entire team, physically present. We had some on the phone, some on video, and others present. Every meeting was always that hybrid. So I think what is ahead for us is really just doing more of the same. Continue to upgrade our infrastructure to support an even larger telepresence. But I think one of the questions you're asking is about this, you phrased it, the hybrid future for teleworking. I really think that what we did before isn't going to be what we're going to be doing in the future. I think there will be much more telework and much more access to it. And I think largely because we have to compete for the same talent with the private sector. So if the private sector is moving in this direction, we're going to have to move in this direction as well, just to compete for that same talent. Probably something around a core number of days in the office. And just, because the 3D interaction is always important. This 2D interaction we're having now, it's good, but there's, the before the meeting and after the meeting is when a lot of things actually happen in the three-dimensional world. Sure. And is continuing as far as more of the same at DLA. We're going to continue our effort with creating citizen technologists that will be able to take a lot of their IT destiny into their own hands with robotic process automation, creating dashboards to help use metrics to measure their performance. And one of the things that we've just recently done, we brought on a CDAO, Chief Data and Analytics Officer, to replace our CDO who's retiring. And we put the emphasis on analytics because we are reorganizing the agency around data. Data is the feedstock for artificial intelligence. And we all know that's where everything's headed as well. So.
All right. Well, again, a lot of ground. And with respect to that 3D interaction, maybe someday we'll all have haptic gloves so we can shake hands, at least at a meeting, and pretend we're getting that way closer in the 3D space. And Martin Stanley of CISA, you've got kind of a two-way look at the world. One, you've got an agency to secure, but then you've also got to promulgate advice throughout the federal government for what it should do. So what's it looking like?
Well, thanks. You actually took my intro. I appreciate it. We do have these two perspectives, and I think things have largely gone very well. The two previous speakers, talking about the work that they've done, the IT shops have really done a great job, I think, through this pandemic and pulling forward a lot of the capabilities that we're going to talk about today. We do have these two perspectives. It says, one, we're trying to secure, the federal government, critical infrastructure, and those kinds of partners. And secondly, we do have our agency that we have to be concerned with. So I've got a couple things to talk about there. Over the last year and a half, we have updated the TIC guidance. This is the government-wide program, federal government-wide civilian agency program. So trusted internet connections are part of a perimeter security. We're going to talk about zero trust, but it is a critical enabler of zero trust. And so we've updated this around mobility, around work from home, that kind of thing. We have also participated with NIST in producing a special publication around zero trust architecture principles. My colleague Sean Connolly is a co-author on that. Also, we're going to be helping agencies finalize their zero trust implementation plans as part of the cyber EO, and that's going to be a big deal as folks are trying to figure out what do they prioritize, how do they implement these protections, and what's the most important thing to do first. We've launched some new mobile services for cybersecurity for federal agencies around mobile app vetting, I think device security and protective DNS services. These are pilots right now, but it's the kind of thing that we're evolving to. And if folks are interested, they can check out the CISA webpage. We have something that we call the Strategic Technology Roadmap. There's an overview which we release publicly that gives all of our future technology capability, forecast demands, the kinds of critical enablers. You talked about the haptic gloves. That's one of the things that we see as a critical enabler down the road is digital twin technologies and the kind of interactions that we're used to seeing in the movies, and they're right around the corner, putting probably a lot more burden on the IT shops to figure out how to do that. So thank you.
All right, good. Thank you. And I want to move to Kevin Brooks of ServiceNow. And this all has implication for how agencies need to go about provisioning people and maintaining all of the devices in terms of cyber and in terms of, just plain workability. Tell us the trends that you expect as we come into this new post-pandemic, but not the way it was before mode of working.
Well, I think you want to start with collaboration tools. In the old days, you could walk down the hall if you were working in HR and you had an issue that had to be resolved with finance or with IT, and the tools weren't in place. You could actually walk down the hall and you use SneakerNet and try to get something done. You can't do that now because one employee may be working in Iowa and the other employee may be working in Ohio. So that's going to we're going to get better collaboration tools for the federal government. A lot of that involves getting beyond our current security structure and understanding that things like zero trust will need to be in place, but we have to find a way to engage the employees. I think Rob and George both hit on the fight for talent. That engagement layer will also be a big differentiator when it comes to bringing in new talent into the federal workforce. So the hybrid work model isn't just about the current workforce, it's the future of government and federal work. So how we engage and how we give employees tools. I look forward to every government agency hiring a CXO, that chief experience officer, to ensure that the CISO and the data officer have a peer who can help ensure that we are delivering the capability that the employees want and customers both want. We've got to get out of this thing where it's all about the policy owner and the CIO being the lords of the fiefdom. It's got to be a collaborative effort, and I think technology can help with that.
All right, and thank you. And Susie Adams of Microsoft, I think Microsoft showed what is capable, what industry and government are capable of doing quickly when the pandemic broke out. This gigantic environment set up for the Defense Department, now decommissioned as they move on to the next phase here. But I think that environment showed what is possible in terms of agility and speed here. So, what's your view of what's happening next here?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, beginning to work from home, full time, and going from worldwide, we went from about 300 million Teams users to 145 million users in a matter of, a month globally. So it was definitely a challenge. And, what we heard from customers was pretty interesting. If you look at the tools that we create, they were really focused on the ability to communicate, to collaborate, and then do business processes, but they were all really done in silos, right? And so we were really focused on individual productivity and not really on collaboration. And so what we've learned is that in this new world, we're really going to have this hybrid paradox. And this is a global phenomenon where people are going to be working remotely. And so we're, in the next series and some of the things we just announced at our partner summit, we're really thinking differently about people and process and how they communicate together and really breaking down those silos. And so you'll start to see things like in Teams, having that be a single canvas where people can come together and we can make it easier to switch between the different apps. Because how many times have you gone and you look at your desktop and you have 30 different apps open? And I hear from people all the time, I'm getting lost in my apps. And so we're really trying to think a lot differently about how we go about doing this. And so from another perspective, we're trying to make it easier for people to work on their Windows device from anywhere. And so we announced Windows 365, which is really PC in a cloud. And so you'll start to see us as we move to the next generation of what not really productivity looks like anymore, but what collaboration looks like in this new hybrid world. It's going to be quite different. And we're really going to try to help people live in that world. And so the new features that you'll start to see is something we call front row, for example, in Teams, where people are speaking. And so that the goal here is really to give people who are physically in the meeting and remote the same capability to participate. to make it easier to collaborate on the agenda, to collaborate on the meeting notes, to collaborate on a whiteboard in a single space, on a single canvas, whether you're physically in the room or at home, or regardless where you're working. We want to make it easier for you to work the way you need to work from wherever you might be. And so I think that's really what we've, and that's what people are asking us for now is how can we provide those types of capabilities to make it easier? And then obviously zero trust and make it more secure.
It sounds like you need more integration between what you can discern from activities of people's intentions and what it is that's displayed on the screen, which I think is still one of the missing links in both collaborative and personal software.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are definitely silos right now, and that we don't really see them when we think of people, process, and technology. We really have to break down those silos now moving forward if we're going to allow people to work in this new hybrid work world.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground in a short time, but we are at a break point. So we're going to get into some of the deep details and some of the technical techies when we get back from this break. I'm Tom Temin. This panel discussion is Mythbuster, Innovation and Security Can Happen in Tandem, sponsored by ServiceNow and Microsoft here on Federal News Network.